if it will cook, I mean, sure. You must have tried cooking green water potatoes. Oh, Krishna. They actually never cook. Sure. Well, these are relatives. They're not actual. They're real. Oh, Hare Krishna. Marie, welcome. Yeah, I think they're distant relatives. They're not too bad, but the stove is the thing. All right. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschityadesh Tarne. You finished your rounds? Okay. Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All right, then. So Srila Prabhupada has arrived in Boston, actually, which I think is a bit colder than New York, because it's really winter. And Prabhupada's in the temple room, just arrived, just gone into the temple room. 150 disciples and guests. And Prabhupada had darshan, and the deity, he was admiring the clothes on the deities, and he had that funny little exchange with Sharadiya, if you remember that one. Is Sharadiya still fighting with her husband? And Prabhupada said he's a good boy. Actually, he's just a really nice devotee. 100 devotees straining to see and hear Prabhupada's responses followed him as he went downstairs. Although the crowd surrounded him, he remained relaxed and unhurried. He entered the press room, a long hall directly beneath the temple room. A large old offset press, a paper cutter, a folder, and flats of paper stock filled the room, which smelled like a print shop. Advaita, the press manager, bowed down in his green khakis before Prabhupada. He rose up smiling, and Prabhupada stepped forward and embraced him, putting his arm around Advaita's head. Very good, he said. Standing before the printing press, Prabhupada folded his palms together and offered a prayer to his spiritual master. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Advaita asked Prabhupada to give the press a transcendental name. ISKCON Press, Prabhupada said matter-of-factly, as if it had already been named. Keep all the machines very clean, Prabhupada said, and they will last a long time. This is the heart of ISKCON. You are the heart of ISKCON, Prabhupada, a devotee said. And this is my heart, said Prabhupada. Leaving the main press room, Prabhupada toured the other press facilities. Squeezing in, ducking under, standing on tiptoe, the crowd of devotees followed him step by step. He peeked into a little cubbyhole where a devotee was composing type. The typesetters, he said, should proceed very slowly at first, and in that way they would become expert. Turning to Advaita, he said, everyone in India who speaks Hindi has a Gita Press publication. So everyone who speaks English should have an ISKCON Press publication. Compared to most authors, Prabhupada's literary contribution was already substantial. But he wasn't just, quote unquote, an author. His mission was to flood the world with literature glorifying Lord Krishna. Prabhupada's ISKCON was now 3 years old, yet his disciples were only beginning to execute his plans for printing and distributing transcendental literature. Printing was an important step, the first step. Months ago, Prabhupada had written, quote, the press must work on continuously, and we shall produce immense volumes of literature. If the press goes on nicely, I shall be able to give you material for publishing a book every 2 months. We have got so much material for the Krishna consciousness movement, unquote. And just prior to coming to Boston, he had written, quote, Sankirtan and distributing back to Godhead and our other literatures is the field work of this movement. Temple worship is secondary, unquote. Now, ISKCON was printing 50,000 copies of Back to Godhead per month, and Prabhupada hoped to increase the sales more and more. Standing in the crowded, chilly basement, surrounded by devotees, press machines, and transcendental literature, Prabhupada described how he wanted ISKCON Press to operate. He said that after dictating a tape, he would mail it to Boston to be transcribed. The transcription should take no more than 2 days. During the next 2 days, someone would edit the transcribed manuscript. Then another editor would take 2 days to edit the transcript a second time. A Sanskrit editor would add diacritical markings, and the manuscript would be ready for composing. Prabhupada said he would produce 15 tapes, 300 manuscript pages every month. At that rate, ISKCON Press should produce a book every 2 months or 6 books in a year. Prabhupada wanted to print at least 60 books. Therefore, his press workers would have plenty to do for the next 10 years. If the devotees simply printed his books incessantly, he said, even if they had to work 24 hours a day in shifts, it would give him great delight. He was ready, if necessary, to drop all his activities except for publishing books. This was the special nectar the press devotees were hankering to hear. Printing books was Prabhupada's heart. It was the thing most dear to him. During Prabhupada's week in Boston, Purushottam continued as secretary and servant out of duty. His difficulties in London had increased. Doubtful and morose, he came before Prabhupada 2 days before their departure. Purushottam, I had decided to leave in London. I just felt like there were different things I wanted to do. But I felt obligated to stay with him because he needed me there. It was my job to at least get him back to the States. I felt that he needed someone to travel with him, and I just felt that I should complete that, have everything in order. So I couldn't say to myself that I had just quit when he needed me like that in a foreign country. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't speak against him or anything. I performed my duties. But in my attitude, I let him know I was really getting kind of distant the last few days. I didn't bow down to him. I would come in, but I just wouldn't bow down to him. He, unquote, he entered Prabhupada's room. He didn't bow down. He stood. He was too uncomfortable to sit because of the gravity of what he would say. Prabhupada looked up from his desk. Yes, Purushottam? Purushottam. I went in to see him. I knew I was going to leave, and it kind of made me sick to do it. Anyway, I told him I have a lot of questions about the movement, the moon, and everything. I just don't believe all of this. He was very congenial about the whole thing. He took it nicely. He said to me, if you have questions, why don't you ask me? And I said, you yourself have said that we should only ask questions to someone we feel we can believe or trust. Wow. He looked very hurt. He knew what I was saying. I felt like I really hurt him. I didn't mean it to be so defiant, but there I was. He said, I've noticed that you haven't been well lately. You've had some problems. I said, well, I haven't been trying to hide it. I guess I was trying to prepare him for what was coming. I wanted to leave that night. So I said, I want to leave. But he said to me, you've been with me so long, and now you're so anxious to go? You can't even stay a night? He said, why don't you stay at least till my plane leaves? That was 2 days later. I said, okay, I'll do that then. I was going to go back to New York. Actually, I didn't have the money for the ticket, and he gave me the money. He gave me the bus fare. I really appreciated that. I could have borrowed some money from someone else, but he said, well, you take it, and you can pay me back later. And I did. I gave it back the next week. He was very gracious about the whole thing. Actually, I could see that he had a very special, loving way of looking at the world. I felt that sometimes I could see things in a loving way, like he did. And I realized that I got that viewpoint from him. You know, that little loving spirit. He had that, and I kind of caught some of that from him. And that's one of the things I always remember about him. And I know that through his movement, I came to believe in God. Before I met him, I didn't believe in God. After Purushottam left, Prabhupada spoke with Bhavananda about Purushottam's doubts concerning the moon landing and his consequent doubts of Krishna consciousness. I can understand that he might not accept it because I said it, but how could he disbelieve the Vedic Shastras? Boston's weather was miserable. When the rain stopped, the snow fell. And when the snow stopped, the rain came again. Prabhupada tried taking a walk in the front yard, Bhavananda beside him with the umbrella, watching cautiously to guard him from falling on the ice. But after a week of Boston's nasty December weather, Prabhupada's cold was getting worse. He would go to Los Angeles. So there you go, devotees. So whatever you do, don't leave. Whatever you do, whatever you do, don't leave. Prabhupada said that. Even there are problems, either personal or just, through some part of the movement or something. But don't leave. Prabhupada said that, he quoted very famous very British saying, "England, with all thy faults, I love thee." Which, anyway, it's very famous, but we can apply it to ISKCON. Sometimes there's some problems. Sometimes one has problems oneself. And sometimes one gets influenced by, some sort of broader situations, problems. So we must never leave Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada's shelter. Prabhupada said sometimes when you're on a ship and there's a storm, then you may get seasick. You may get seasick. But that doesn't mean you should jump over the side of the ship into the sea, thinking you'll escape, the problem. Stickability is an important quality. Okay, devotees, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let's get into a bit of kirtan.